Hello, hello. It's me, Bill Patton, and I'm getting ready to go live with Ryan Hanrahan, the tennis marketer from Sydney, Australia. So it's kind of fun to do a worldwide event across 17 time zones. So anyway, we're going to be going live here in a little bit. I'm already live. I'm waiting on Ryan to show up. And we are going to be talking about the question, can you improve your brain? And, obviously that will be specifically for your ability to perform in sports, in life, and especially on a tennis court. So Ryan said he will be here any moment, but I wanted to get the link going to make it available for him to grab it. And he's coming in now. All right. We need to get Ryan on camera. Let's go that style right there. So I see we have one person watching. Be sure to say hello. If you're on Facebook, I'll be able to see your comments, but I might not be able to respond. If you are on YouTube or LinkedIn, leave a comment. Everything's going to be fine. I will get back to you with answers to your questions. Feel free, but I might not be able to see your answer right away. So Ryan seems to be having a little trouble getting his camera going. Oh, there it is. He did it, and we're adding him to the stream. Hello, Ryan. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Bill. How you doing? Sorry, I had Zoom open still. I couldn't get in.
Oh, no worries. So yeah. Oh, it's funny. I got your message the other day that David and he was loud and I was louder.
No, he was loud. He was really loud, and you were like very quiet.
Oh, I had it the other way around. I thought that I was the one that was way too loud. So how do I sound right now?
It sounds good to me now.
Okay, all right, very good. All right.
I don't know what it was the other day.
Yeah, I think it helps me to use this one particular microphone that I have. So, all right, I went off my camera for a second because I pushed the wrong button, but I'm back now. So, all right, let's get right into it. Take it away. We're gonna let it. It's Ryan's show because he's the tennis marketer.
Okay, so guys, I'm Ryan from Tennis Marketer. I'm here to help you grow your business, manage your business, and develop it. Shoot me a comment below if you're interested, but we're here to talk about Bill's content, and today's topic is brain function data. Could you tell us a bit more about that, Bill, and what you do?
Yeah, and our provocative question is, can you improve your brain? So last time we got on here, we were talking about can you train your visual skills? So I think we'll continue along that line, and try to spur people on with their thinking and start to see more possibilities by understanding that a lot of things are more malleable than you might have thought. So that most of this discussion that we're going to have, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest data on how the brain works, your connections visually, because obviously the most important thing that I connect to this is the visual training. And we're going to talk about taking good care of your brain and how that's going to help you with reaction time, mood, coordination, blah, blah, blah. Different things that you can do to keep your brain healthy or even restore it to better health. And some of the things that people do that are positive or negative for their brain. So So the first, a lot of this has been spurred on by the fact that I'm currently studying for a certificate in neuroscience through Harvard University Extension, which probably sounds more impressive than it really is. I mean, it's not a serious, super serious, in-depth thing, but it's, I'm doing it because I want to have, some fundamental knowledge of how the brain works, so that I don't make mistakes with things that I say moving forward. So for me, one of the most important pieces of data is that approximately 60% of your brain's activity has to do with your vision. So a lot of your brain's function has to do with your vision. And so then it goes to reason that if whatever you do for your brain that's going to make your brain more healthy is going to directly impact your ability to see better, react better, and other things. And we're going to dive more deeply into those. So is that enough answer on that one?
Yeah, that's good. So do you know how they came up with the 60% and how did they find that out?
That's a really great question, and I wish I knew the answer to that. But, it's coming from people that I deem to be experts, so I'm just trusting them at this point. So I can't point to any particular study in that regard. But, it's something that's been established in actual university research, peer-reviewed studies, and accepted as fact. I'm not at a level where I can criticize someone else's work along those lines.
Okay, so what does the brain function data tell us in terms of general, but also tennis?
Well, also that approximately 20 to 25% of your energy of your life is being used by your brain. So when you sit down to eat, maybe up to a third of what you're eating is going to be that energy that you're consuming is going to be used up by your brain. So that's
Wow.
an awful lot of work being done. So
Powerful, yeah.
one thing that's been interesting for me, I've recently started to supplement with magnesium because recently I was told that magnesium is one of the few minerals that you actually burn through and deplete. And so some of the other chemicals minerals are not quite so easily consumed. So I've been supplementing with magnesium, and I found that, overall my stress levels are down. I'm sleeping better, and, a lot of really good overall effects. I feel a little mentally sharper. So it's been a good thing. So it just goes to underline those things that, a considerable amount of energy is used up in your brain, and there's no two ways around it. But then, a best practice is to try to get as efficient as you can with the foods that you eat. Making your brain work more efficiently is going to save you a lot of energy.
Yeah. So going back on the two stats that you gave us, would that make sense to say that 15% of your energy goes on your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, if it's simple math, yeah, I mean, I think so. It seems to make sense. I can't answer that and tell you definitively that that's true.
Okay.
But I think a tennis player in a highly competitive tennis match is going to be using an awful lot of brain power to track down, a ball that's jumping and, going sideways and up and down and hard to track. Or as Andy Roddick said, coming to the net against Nadal is like running into headlong traffic. So,
yeah.
So
that makes sense,
so that's a pretty stressful environment. There was also Vic Braden did a study that did facial recognition on Federer when he was on grass, and so his micro expressions showed euphoria. But then when he was against Nadal on clay, then his facial expressions expressed something more like what a terrorist would look like at an airport.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah,
Difference, yeah.
he was not in his happy place. So it is an
So
interesting thing. Yeah.
going back to the conversation we had last week with focus and getting tired, and I say if you're using your visual skills to, if your brain activity is focused a lot on your visual skills and what you're doing visually, it makes sense if you're focusing a lot and trying to watch everything they do with a lot of focus, you'd get tired quite quickly.
And focusing is the most tiring skill of the three skills. So scanning's easier because it's a softer skill.
Yeah.
And so is tracking. Tracking's more passive. So the more passive the skills that you use, then the less energy you use. That's a really good comment. I definitely agree with that. And people do try to tell themselves to focus. In fact, a lot of people have this angry internal dialogue that says focus, and they might slap themselves on the leg, because they're like, focus, and so
Yeah.
that particular thing that's using up energy. Look at the relative placidity of the top players in the world. The best ones that are winning the slams, or Grand Slam tournaments, are the ones generally who are more calm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. So now taking care of the brain, how do we take care of the brain to help us visually? Probably also generally, it's probably two questions there. So
Yeah,
let's start with how should we take care of the brain just regularly?
yeah. It's really funny because it sounds so simple, but yet people are having a really hard time doing these things. And the number one thing is sleep. Sleep ought to be people's superpower. And there's one expert that I quote in my book who says, perfect practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice plus a good night's sleep makes perfect. Because in your sleeping time, that's when you're processing the lessons of the day. So then those lessons are learned better. But then a lack of sleep affects your reaction time, decision making, and coordination. Not absolute strength so much. And so there's a problem in that people don't perceive that they're impaired, because physically they can feel fine. They can feel like they have the strength that they need. But they aren't noticing that their coordination is impaired. So I was watching a TEDx talk just moments ago, and the expert there was saying that at the turn of the 20th century, people on average were sleeping 9 hours a night, and now people are sleeping about 6 hours a night, and that's a really serious negative problem. I'm actually working very hard right now to increase my amount of sleep on a daily basis, so I'm seeing this very gradual incremental change in sleeping longer, and it's really helped me a lot. So the next most important thing that you can do is hydration. So your brain is a battery. It's an electrical impulse machine. So it needs the water. It needs in order to allow the processes to take place for the electrical impulses to cross from here to there. So hydration is huge. And then here's my cat with the crazy tail. He's getting in the show. Yep. He's not too concerned about the show. Yep. Cork man, what's up? Yep. It's Corky right there. So he's just enjoying. So those are probably the two things. But then you could also get into sodium. People need to have good sources of sodium, which obviously monosodium glutamate is probably not a good source. But you make sure that you're getting enough salt in your diet, especially, and generally sea salt and other kosher salts, I do believe, are the way to go. I don't know enough about sodium to point you in the right direction, but there are also known brain foods, which are also connected with being good eyesight foods. So, one good healthy serving of salmon or mackerel a week, and then there are other less tasty fishes that you could eat that that are even better for you. So nuts are good. You could get some walnuts, almonds, and so you would need some DHA, EHA, and ALA. So those are acronyms for the different kinds of healthy fats, the omega-3s, that are going to help your brain and your eyes both. So those are 3 quick things that you can do to take care of your brain.
3 or is that 4? Sleeping, hydration,
drink,
sodium,
and diet.
Okay, so diet. Yeah, it's 2 subtopics under diet was sodium and
Yeah.
So
and we'll get into that.
So with the hydration one, I know when I was a swimmer, I used to swim 8 times a week. I don't know if you know, some of the Australian people might know Ian Thorpe, but I used to have this obsession with drinking enough, and I used to take 2 bottles of water everywhere I went. And so how much is enough and what is too much? Would you know? Or?
Offhand, I can't tell you. And then also because we have an international audience, then we have the problem of, the empirical system versus metric system. Yeah. So do a little bit of your own research. But I do know that you can actually drink dangerous amounts of water. But so that can be your problem. So whatever you do, don't be obsessive about it. But yeah, go and talk to your coach and do your own research and find out what's best for you. But it's probably more than you're drinking, and it's probably 2 or 3 times more than you're currently drinking. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Yeah, and what you'll find is that when you start taking care of your brain better, then you're going to have better reaction times, and your mood will be better. And that's an important training consideration, because when you're feeling, better, then you're going to be feeling more motivated to train and work out and whatnot. But if you're having feelings of depression or low energy, then it's going to make it more difficult to get moving, to get going. And then there is a very strong connection between a healthy brain and your ability to be coordinated, which is a big part of the motor learning, of learning, if you're learning strokes or strategies or movement on the court, then your ability to be coordinated is vital to that. And then finally is the decision making, because you've got to be able to, make very rapid decisions about what you're going to do to attack your opponent. And when you hesitate, on an opportunity to take advantage on a point, and the other player is not hesitating on those opportunities, then that's an edge lost for you. So one of my big sayings in coaching is that when all things are equal, otherwise, the player that takes advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them to be aggressive, offensive, are going to be the people who come out on top. So your decision making will be affected, and that's a really big part of it for sure.
So if you trained your reaction time, in the right manner, would that affect your mood, coordination, and decision making, and vice versa with the rest? If you know what I mean.
There's training your reaction time in the vacuum of healthy brain talk. So even if you didn't train your reaction time, but you
Yeah,
made your brain healthier, then
it helps.
it helps. And then you're also going to make your reaction time training, you know, better. You will benefit more from the reaction time training because you don't have an interference, you don't have an impedance in the way of that training.
Yeah. So what I was, I guess, trying to say there is, does time, mood, coordination, and decision making, do they link together as well, or they just link back
It's a whole
to brain?
complex.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, yeah, separating them would be hard.
Yeah. Good. And so, what about breathing? So, what does breathing do in regard to our brain activity?
Yeah, well, your brain also needs oxygen. And so, I mean, you probably have heard, that when people are lost at sea and they're, underwater for periods of time, there's so many minutes that the brain can operate without oxygen before brain damage occurs. But one thing that's also known is that people don't breathe deeply enough. And so then they end up having a higher heart rate. So their heart's working harder. And then because of that, then their feelings of stress are more. And then that's also making your brain work harder instead of less. So your brain needs oxygen. Oh, your brain needs
Yeah.
oxygen. I kicked my tripod there. In order to operate at optimal levels. So, I mean, one thing that's really cool for me is, I think when you have wearable tech and it can remind you, okay, it's a good time to start taking a few breaths. So, I have mine set so that every morning at 6 a.m. I get a reminder to do some deep breathing, and then a little bit right before bed. That can also really help you sleep better. So yeah, breathing's a big part of it. And then, you can add other things like some time of meditation, just sitting quietly and, thinking through your day, or you're reflecting back on what's happened today and what are you looking forward to tomorrow. Those kinds of things are also really good to get things lined up.
Yeah, which is really good because a lot of people, including myself, are just racing around, not taking enough time to reflect and do the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So now, in regards to tennis, and the breathing, how and when should we breathe? That would kind of increase our brain activity and the other things.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, during a point, there's research that shows that if you exhale while you are in the forward phase of your swing, that you can add, you know, 10 miles an hour to your serve and 5 to 7 miles an hour on your ground strokes. So, so if you inhale as the ball's coming in, and then now you're going to go forward and exhale on the way out, what happens is you get a lengthening out, you get an you know, eccentric motion of your muscles, which is basically the lengthening of them, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so there's some efficiency that's created that way. It's not it's it's funny because there you could debate if you wanted to talk about all nerve cells being connected to the brain. Um, so we'll save that for another time. But in a different way, if you exhale when you hit, you are oxygenating your nervous system, and that's helpful. And then it is wise, especially if you're feeling any kind of nerves, to take a really good deep breath between every point until your nerves start to go away. A little bit of nervousness at the beginning of a match is very normal, and just simply indicates that you care about the outcome and you're getting a little shot of adrenaline, which is a good thing, gives you the energy to perform, and then you can moderate that with your good breathing. There is a case also to be made for, the euphoria that you get after making a good shot. You get the dopamine response, you hit a winner, and you're like, yeah, and then you're on this high, and that dopamine actually makes you temporarily uncoordinated. So one quick cleansing breath to get the dopamine out, that's also a really good thing to do. So breathing can help clean out bad chemical reactions in your brain.
I guess, and the last thing I have here on my questions is regarding alcohol. So how does alcohol affect our brain function?
Yeah. Oh man. And I feel sad talking to an Aussie about that. And Aussies, because everybody wants a lager, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, telling an
Yeah.
Aussie not to have a lager, that's not a good idea, right? So, and this was challenging for me because I also do enjoy alcohol, and yet the message came across pretty strong today that alcohol is damaging to your brain, and we all have a choice to we can slow down the deterioration of our brain, or we can accelerate it. And alcohol does accelerate deterioration, and the brain scans of people who don't drink alcohol as opposed to people who do are pretty significantly different. So I myself am challenged, and I am now on a mission to actually reduce the amount of alcohol that I drink. So it is not helpful.
So that's any alcohol. So it's not like you get to a certain point in moderation, then it does that, or it's even if you have a little sip.
The example that Dr. Daniel Amen gave was the person who likes to go home and have their 2 glasses of wine in the evening for the sake of their healthy heart. And he stated pretty clearly that it's not helping your brain, it's hurting your brain. So I think that I wouldn't want to be someone who told other people to be a teetotaler or whatnot. But I think for me, what I am going to do is try to cut my alcohol consumption in half. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a fun life, right? But the good old days of athletes who did a considerable amount of drinking the night after a match, or even the night before a big match, I think those days are fewer and far between. And I think it's curious. I mean, of course you want to have some balance in life, and I kind of appreciate sometimes the attitude of Nick Kyrgios, who wants to live his life. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not overly concerned about winning Grand Slam tournaments. He loves his position, and he wants to go and have a beer with the guys. And that's simply stated. That's what he's going to do. So I don't judge him for that.
Fair enough, because
I think it's refreshing. He's honest about it, but he most likely could perform better more consistently if he were to decide to stop drinking.
Does he drink? I don't know. I never know. Never thought of it. Does he drink that much?
I don't know how much he drinks, but he talks about it. And so if that means 1 beer, then 1 beer is infinitesimally more than 0 beers. So yeah, I mean. The point isn't to criticize any particular player. If we're going to personalize it, I'm going to personalize it to myself. I'm going to take the challenge to reduce the amount of alcohol that I drink, and encourage other people to think about doing the same for themselves.
I do remember, my dad would repeat stories about how they'd have a couple of drinks before they played tennis. At the local club every week, and they would play, a couple of players especially would play a lot better after a couple of beers than having nothing. What's your takes on those ones?
I've met those people, and it's amazing that Whitney Reed is still alive. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I, um, I think it's sad that we sometimes romanticize high functioning alcoholics, and um, it's cute, I suppose, for people to poke fun and to enjoy the crazy stories of the things that they do and say. Um, but obviously there is damage being done with drinking
Yeah.
that much alcohol, and so it's really not a laughing matter. It's actually, I think, more sad, and I think we have a lot more information as to the negative outcomes of that. And I personally have been in a place where in my life where I have had too much alcohol too often with not many days or breaks in between. So I'm certainly not a person to judge anybody on that regard. I have no standing. So, but yeah, I think it is something to look at, and I don't know that I will go to a lifestyle of consuming zero alcohol, but I do think I will try to observe a one drink limit for a period of time.
Very good. Yeah, so I'm probably the opposite. I don't drink much, not because I don't like it, just because I just don't get around to it really. And it does affect my sleep a bit. So
Yeah, some people don't realize how much it affects their sleep. Yes, it can be
yeah,
a real negative with the sleep for sure. So anyway, so yes, you can improve your brain. And
yeah,
so if you do these things, if actually we've got four, I think you were correct when you said that, right? Four things. Measure your sleep, keep track of your sleep. If you've got wearable tech, that's getting easier.
look like Bill dropped out. All right, thanks guys. I'll see if he comes back. Um, anyway, thanks for jumping on. Anyone who's watching now or live, we'll do some more of these kind of conversations. Send through some messages and comments around topics you like with visual training and any brain activity. Thanks for watching.